what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis, Carl? What's a normal day for you? Because you've got loads
Tempted to joke as little as possible, but I'm not an estate agent, so I don't get involved in that side of the business. I have a team, a strong team that works here who run the business day to day. I suppose as group chief executive, my job is chief cheerleader. And to some degree, I'm responsible for the strategy of the organization. So working out which sectors we need to be in and which sectors we should exit,
Yeah,
and then making sure that the organization's moving forwards.
yeah,
But I spend a lot of my time day to day talking to people in the business,
yeah.
talking to people outside the business. So I'm trying to build awareness of who we are and what we do, hence, sessions like today, but also to make sure that internally the organization is aligned behind the mission to be trusted and admired.
And when you talk to people, how do you do it? Do you go, because COVID's gone now, isn't it? You've only been there 9 months. So are you doing teams? Are you calling people? Are you going around to the offices? How are you, and who are you speaking to? Directors or, everyone in the offices or?
I think it's everybody and anyhow. So Teams obviously plays a role, but I try as much as possible to see people face to face.
Yeah.
So if I can, to be out in the field talking to people, not in a business focused sense, more in a just kind of spending time with the teams.
Yeah.
And then I have a monthly meeting with all of our teams. So we get people on to a call, and we give an update on how things are going, and then we invite questions. And then
When you say that, is that everyone in the business, is it? Or is it certain people in the business?
it's a large chunk of the people in the business. So it's all of the leadership team, all the branch managers, all
Mm,
of the managers, and a good number of the teams.
mm,
So
mm,
I mean, we can't do that for the whole team because clearly it's during office hours and we have
mm,
people doing other things. But
mm,
I encourage as many as possible of our branch managers and management
mm,
population to dial in.
mm.
And then the other thing that I do is I have,
Sorry, Carl. How many people is that then? How many people would you get to? As typical to come up on? I don't know. I don't know my staff
yeah,
you've
well,
got. So
we got as a business, we got 340 people.
mm,
So spread across branch and head office.
mm.
And typically we get around about 110, 120 people on that call.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think that's a big learning. I think that just for our guests, I think I always find that the best businesses always have that direct relationship with their staff, and they understand what's going on and are willing to question and trying to help because they're the guys on the ground floor. They actually know what's going on, and they're the people that can tell you what's going right, but also people tell you what's going wrong. And when you find those and they're honest with you, that's where you get your real learnings, really. So sorry, Cole, I
Yeah, yeah.
interrupted you. So
Well, I think that. I mean, you used the word honest, and when wherever I work, I try and role model certain behaviours,
mm,
and as well as kind of teamwork and accountability and things like that. Almost the most important for me is honesty, or
mm,
what I call honest dialogue. So we have a principle here, which is there's no question that people can't ask. So whoever you are in the business, you can ask me the question, and I will do my best to answer it.
mm,
Now, clearly, there will be some things which might be commercially sensitive or
mm.
confidential that I can't talk about. But by and large, I can cover 99% of all the things that I get asked. And to help with that, I have what I call a brew and a chat, which is
What's that, Carl? What do you call it?
well, a brew and a chat. I
A Bruno
basically,
chat. Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, brew
Yeah,
and a chat. So bring your brew, have a chat. Basically, I just come onto Teams one Friday each month for an hour,
yeah. Right.
and as an open invite to anybody in the business,
Like it.
and they can come on and they can, we talk about your favorite movie, we talk about what you're doing at the weekend, or we talk about the business.
Yeah.
And if people have questions that they want to raise, so we're
Yeah.
going through the process at the moment of changing our model.
Right.
And we're moving away from what we call multi-site to more of a branch specialism, a sort of customer-led model with specialists, and we're rolling it out slowly across the business, and we're about halfway through. And doing those sorts of things naturally creates anxiety. So people are, well, what does this mean for me? Do I still have a job? That kind of thing. And so what I do is I encourage people to bring those questions and those concerns, or anything that they've heard that they just want to understand more about. and it sort of breaks down this sense that there's an us and them, and that there's people who know and people that don't know.
So can anyone jump onto those? Is it like one person at a time, or just anyone jumps on
No,
at a
anybody
certain
and
time?
everybody. So
Yeah.
I've done three so far. In the first one, we had
Mm.
about 80 people.
Wow. Amazing. Wow.
And the first conversation on the last one, I think, was about movies. So we got we got chatting about people's favourite movies, and I think we were talking about Withnail and I. Uh, but yeah, anything and everything. And
Yeah.
I think it's important in my role to be seen not only as the CEO but as a human.
Yeah.
So somebody that has family, has hobbies, has views,
Mm.
but everything is grounded in what we call honest dialogue. So
Mm.
if
Mm.
people want to ask something, some organisations they espouse that sort of view, but then if somebody says something that doesn't align with the
Mm.
centre, they
Mm.
very quickly get that there are channels by which people are informed that those aren't the types of things they're
Yeah.
supposed to ask.
Yeah.
Whereas I'll take a call from anybody in my business. I'll take an email and I'll respond.
Yeah.
We lost somebody quite recently. Somebody decided to move on to a different job, one where they got a pay rise, and that person said, "Well, I'm sad to be leaving. I think you're a straightforward person. Here's why I'm leaving. Would be interested in your views." And I went back to them with my views and explained that, and that's just how it is. Sometimes
Mm.
people move on.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's about straightforward dialogue.
I think that's right. I've just, for the listeners, there's a really good book. I think, Carl, you'd like it. It's called Principles by Ray Dalio. And he talks about, one of the chapters about radical transparency. And he says that, look, you just got to be open, very direct with people. And sometimes that's giving, like you're doing, you've got to be open about the business. Of course, there's commercially sensitive stuff that you can't tell, you can't say because it's going to impact on the business. But on the whole, you should be very transparent with people. And it just creates that trust and people believe in you. And although sometimes it's a little bit hard because transparency is not only giving good news, but it's also giving bad news. And so sometimes that's quite a difficult thing to do, but that is the right way, and I think all good businesses have that.
Well, I think that's the nature of business today as well. I mean, with social media and with Twitter and absolute immediate data availability. If I do something, if I say one thing and do something else, somebody
Yeah.
will find that out. It's
Mm.
what I call hyper transparency.
Yeah.
We live in a world today where we have hyper transparency, and if I don't meet my own values, somebody will sooner or later point it out. And so I
Mm.
think firstly you have to do the right thing, and then you have to be honest about it.
Mm.
And sometimes we make hard decisions. So, before Christmas, we decided there was a particular part of our business, a functional role that we didn't think added value for the cost,
Mm.
and so we took it through a consultation process and had those conversations with people in roles and concluded that the right thing to do was to no longer have that function. And
Mm.
and that was tough because it meant that 19 people left our business.
Mm.
But
Mm.
at the end of the day, I'm a guardian or a steward of a business with 340 people,
Mm.
and I have to do the right thing to make sure that the business survives and is profitable.
Yeah.
And those hard conversations for those 19 people, we did them well, we did them respectfully, and at the end of the day, we made a decision. But that was for the benefit of the health of the business going forwards.
Mm. Yeah, I think we all owe obligations to our clients and to the whole team as a whole. And sometimes that, as you say, that does involve making tough decisions. So your background with agency, because when I spoke to you, Carl, initially, and you said you didn't have an agency background, I thought to myself, that's going to be a tough job. You get to know agency, and agency is something that's always developing. So, but actually, by the sounds of it, it kind of helped you in a way because you can see things not having that background. So maybe you see things more objectively in a way, and from an external point of view. So do you find that, or not really, or do you wish you had?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've obviously followed a lot of the rhetoric in the trade press about people who've worked in organizations like Purple Bricks
Mm.
or other organizations where they've put in a CEO who doesn't have a background in the agency side of things, and so I know it's a sensitive issue. I mean, my job is to manage a series of businesses, and those businesses could be doing anything
Mm.
from estate agency to selling clothes.
Mm,
They all have an income stream, they all have a cost base, and they all have people. And so there's a lot that's common about businesses. Making sure that the people in the business are aligned to the strategy, that the strategy is sensible, and then executing well. So I don't
mm,
need to. I mean, I'm learning really quickly about estate agency, but I don't find that day to day I need to. I'm not selling houses. I'm not valuing houses. Um, One of the things that's taken me a bit of time to learn is the rhythm of the market. So, the fact that obviously when you sell a house, there's a delay between the valuation, the sale, and then the income coming in. Those types of things. So,
mm,
there are bits of it that are unfamiliar, but a
mm,
lot of it there is familiar.
mm,
And I think one of the things that, I mean, my background is massively varied. So I've done strategy, I've done operations, I've done business development, I've done new business launches, um, and all of those things are relevant. I think probably the thing that I think is quite interesting about this sector is it's not done as much as I think it could have done in terms of digitizing the customer experience.
mm,
So, when I was at HSBC and I launched mobile banking, within almost weeks, perhaps a month of launching, we had 750,000 people
wow.
um, using the app
Mm,
from a standing start, and we saw something like 4 billion of money moving between accounts in the same period. Um, so that kind of service, it was so obviously needed and so well designed that people just took it on. And now I go out to buy my bread and milk, and I go in a shop and I just touch my Google Pay
mm,
on the screen, and I've already paid.
mm,
And that
mm.
was enabled by digital. And I think what I don't think anybody's really nailed yet is a really good digital proposition that doesn't replace the physical experience, it just complements it.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. No, I agree that. I mean, you've got to. I mean, because staff resources are the hardest thing to get right, really, because you've got to keep on training and things like that. And you can, and great people don't always come around, So as much as you can, I mean, we've got a principle that we, try to automate as much as possible the stuff that can be automated, and we try to. Well, we can't really delegate our stuff, to be honest with you, because we're conveyancers. But we certainly try to automate, and that's really improved the business and the times to completion and things like this. And I had a similar experience to you, and the reason I wanted you on is because it is interesting when you approach another type of business. Because I was an estate agent. I went into legal practice, and we just saw the legal practice completely different with a different hat on. And I think what you represent is business has got those procedures, and I think some agents aren't big enough, and they do have to wear all the hats, and it's very difficult for them. But as soon as you can get to the right size that you can afford to work on the business and rather than in the business, I think that's what really transforms the business.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I moved from basically maintaining chemical plants in Merseyside to helping build and sell insurance propositions in London, and then from that I moved into creating digital banking propositions for
Mm,
HSBC and Barclays. I mean, that none of those things have any similarity as a sector,
mm,
but there are a lot of things that you can transfer. And if you
yeah,
if you're good at setting strategy and
yeah,
delivering on it, then that for
yeah.
me is what matters. But I'm not complacent. I mean, I try to surround myself with really, really good property people.
Yeah.
So I'm not making decisions about, you know, the processes of, selling properties, letting properties. I've got some really good people working for me.